Sometimes you just find yourself in the presence of someone so ridiculous that you find yourself looking around the room for an invisible camera like you're on an episode of The Office. That's about where I'm at with this RFK Jr. situation. We are completely cooked, like grass-fed Wagyu beef. First, let me address two elephants that are in the room with us right now. Number one, I'm not sitting in my normal spot, and that is because I have become the latest victim of Jack the Ripper. And by Jack the Ripper, I mean a general surgeon sliced and diced me. So I have like 5 giant incisions across my stomach. This is way more comfy. I'm set up, we're good to go. But I didn't want to waste any more time because I've been meaning to record this. I was waiting to see if RFK, can we call him Bobby? Let's call him Bobby. I was waiting to see if Bobby was confirmed as the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he was confirmed the day I had my surgery. So here we are. The second elephant in the room is Bobby himself. I am not a bully. Well, no, I'm not. I'm not a bully, but he developed this vocal rasp called spasmodic dysphonia. Yes, my degree is in nursing. I'm an RN by trade. I don't know how to pronounce everything, okay? At the end of the day, I was still homeschooled. The rare neurological conditions in which the muscles that close his vocal cords will spasm, it creates like the strangled quality to his speech.
It's a neurological injury. So my brain is telling my vocal cords to tighten up.
However, I will be making fun of RFK today. I will try to stay away from the voice issue because I know as someone with multiple disabilities, I mean, I don't really care if people make fun of me. I'm over it. Can't be meaner to me than I am to myself, but I don't like to do it to other people. Number one, y'all make fun of my voice. My voice. I have a masculine voice. I have a way too feminine voice. Like, what do y'all want from me? When I was first writing and researching this video, I was going to go in a completely different direction because, God, there's so much shit. Bobby Jr., Bobby J, Billy Bob. No, it's just Bob. He has been dying to get into politics. There's a legacy with the Kennedy family, especially in politics. Bobby Kennedy is the nephew of John F. Kennedy and the son of Attorney General. I don't know. He held a lot of positions. Robert F. Kennedy Sr. Both of them were assassinated long before our time. He's been feeling real left out his entire life, and he's overcompensated in a myriad of ways, including being addicted to heroin.
I was a heroin addict for 14 years.
Strapping a dead whale onto the roof of his car.
In a 2012 interview, his daughter said that when she was a child, Kennedy cut the head off of a whale that had washed up on the shore in Massachusetts and then tied it to the roof of their minivan to take it home.
Dumping a dead bear cub in Central Park.
I had to go to the airport, and the bear was in my car, and I didn't want to leave the bear in the car. I said, let's go put the bear in Central Park, and we'll make it look like he got hit by a bike.
Having a dead brain-eating worm taking up residence in that valuable space upstairs. He's also done enormous harm, specifically with spreading misinformation. For my followers who are not from the United States, Bobby Kennedy ran his own election campaign to be president as an independent candidate. He essentially went to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump before the election and besieged them, both of them separately. He would endorse whichever one of them could guarantee him a federal position in the White House if they were elected. Kamala did not take the bait. No, of course she did not. Unfortunately, she also did not win. Trump ultimately won. Sorry, I get a little nauseous saying that sentence. He nominated Bobby Kennedy for this position as Secretary of Health and Human Services, and then on February 13th, of course, he was officially confirmed. You know what? I'm glad they did that while I was fucking knocked out on anesthesia. During Donald Trump's presidential victory speech, he promised that he would let Bobby Kennedy, quote unquote, go wild on food and health policy. I don't think we need that. Anyway, I don't feel like taking you all through an entire theme park of Kennedy history and drama and policy and impact. No. Okay, obviously, we're doing a little casual today. They already cut me open, so please cut me some slack. What I do want to talk about is one of these things he is absolutely going buckshit wild about. Don't quote me on this, okay? I'm sick. Qualifications don't matter anymore. Don't worry. If you're not qualified for a position, you don't have to be, especially in the United States government. Bobby Kennedy, for example, does not have any history in the medical field. If you Google RFK Jr. prior to like 2024, one of the first things, the most prominent things that you'll see is his long history with being super anti-vax. So anti-vax that he even is part of an organization against vaccinating children. Why would he be in charge of things like Health and Human Services, Medicaid, Medicare? He doesn't even know the difference between the two, which was brought up in his confirmation hearing recently. He's made a lot of anti-vax stances, statements that are just factually not true true and are easily verifiable that they're not true. He poses a lot of his wackadoodle-doo opinions as medical fact when they are, in fact, not. So in 2023, he did a live stream with Elon Musk on Twitter. Listen, I'm going to call it Twitter because Elon dead names his daughter Vivian, so I can dead name his fucking social media platform, okay? So it is Twitter. Robert Kennedy Jr. claimed that there was tremendous circumstantial evidence suggesting that people taking antidepressants were more likely to commit school shootings. Studies on school shooters show that the majority of them were never on, have never been on SSRIs or antidepressants at all. So immediately debunked. Bobby also claims, and this is the main point that we're going to talk about today, antidepressants and SSRIs are apparently more addictive than heroin, which he would certainly know about. Then he tried to backpedal that during his confirmation and said that he never said that. I don't know. That whole generation apparently still doesn't realize what a digital footprint is. This has caused a lot of controversy because, okay, first of all, I do not give 3 bone dry fucks if you are anti-vax or not, personally. Everyone gets to make that decision for themselves. It's your body, your choice. Ironic, right? What's not up for debate is Bobby Kennedy's long-ass track record of undermining scientific research and making absolutely dubious claims. It just seems a little insane that anyone is willing to take medical advice from someone who's the ideal candidate for a sun damage prevention campaign. Someone who looks like the underside of John Wayne's leather saddle. Like I mentioned, Bobby was addicted to heroin. Allegedly, he is in recovery, and he has been for quite some time, largely in thanks to a 12-step program. He is one of those people that thinks that whatever works for him will work and has to work for literally everyone else. He's taking all of the foundational elements of a 12-step program and applying them to all of our healthcare, including mental health, autoimmune diseases, and even neurological disorders like Parkinson's. Okay, let's dig into these wellness farms like that worm did to RFK's frontal lobe. Years ago, Bobby first started introducing the idea of these wellness farms. I'll let Bobby tell you what Bobby said.
You got a whole generation of kids who is damaged. I'm going to create these wellness farms where they can go to get off of illegal drugs, off of opiates, off of psychiatric drugs if they want to, get off of SSRIs, to get off of benzos, to get off of Adderall, and to spend time, as much time as they need, 3 or 4 years if they need it, to learn to get reparented, to reconnect with communities, to understand how to talk to people. There'll be job training, particularly in the trades.
But the wellness farms are not an original idea. Not sure if he's had an original idea since that brainworm went all-you-can-eat Golden Corral buffet on his ass. The model for these wellness farms are based off of wellness camps that he went to in Italy.
I've seen this beautiful model that they have in Italy called San Patrignano, where there are 2,000 kids who work on a large farm in a healing center, and they grow.
It's a beautiful model.
It's good, and that's what we need to build here.
Apparently there is a documentary about one of these farms, and I'm sorry I was super busy being filleted and butchered, so I didn't have time to find it and watch it myself. But yeah, there's apparently a documentary that was made about this type of wellness farm in Italy because of how fucking terrible it is. I did read that they would do things like chain people to trees or put them in cages while they were detoxing from certain substances. And I don't just mean illegal substances, things like SSRIs. On the surface, these wellness farms sound like really innovative ideas, especially for the types of people that appreciate the more organic, natural things in life. But personally held beliefs should never trump, puns always intended, scientific-backed research. According to Bobby Kennedy, kids on these farms farm organic food, work jobs like in a bakery, furniture factories, wallpaper factories, apparel factories. So when they voluntarily leave these camps, they have an actual skill set to use in the real world. What is this though, really? If we break it down to its bare bones, this is a labor camp. One of the arguments that I keep seeing by people who have their nose so far up RFK's ass, they are turning the same shade of boiled hot dog water as he is. Their argument is that these camps are voluntary. When do kids get to consent? People don't like kids consent. People consent for kids. Parents consent for kids. You know, what's funny is that it actually sounds strangely similar to the United States prison system, which, let's be honest, is modern day slavery. They're not learning these trades like as an apprentice or paid intern or as an employee. No, they're working for free. Did I forget to mention that? They're framing these wellness camps as places for kids to go to, in Bobby's words, to be reparented and wean themselves off of things like antidepressants, ADHD meds like Adderall, Vyvanse, other medications for neurological disorders, for psychological disorders, schizophrenia, chronic pain conditions. But as he said, kids will not have access to phones, no outside communication. Also, these wellness camps where they're taking people off of their prescribed medications, these wellness camps are not being ran and monitored and regulated by healthcare professionals. Kind of reminding me of these Scientology rehab centers because they're ran the fucking same way. Where's Jenny? Where's my Scientology friend? Ex-Scientology. Bobby thinks that mental health conditions like depression and anxiety and ADHD and autism, well, of course we know he thinks autism is caused by vaccinations. I've been diagnosed with a touch of the tism. I was not vaccinated until I was accepted into nursing school when I was like 20 years old, and I had to go to the fucking health department and get all of my fucking vaccines, a life's worth, 20 years worth of vaccines at one time. Isn't that weird? So like, how did I end up with it if I wasn't vaccinated, you know? That's really fucking weird. Bobby thinks that people with mental health conditions, if we put our minds to it, we can just simply stop. Guys, we won't be depressed. We will not have anxiety. We will be able to focus. I digress. You know what? I don't digress. Because you know why? You know what I just thought? There's already a child workforce, like, ready right now. The fucking foster system. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Okay, I'm like sweating. This is stressing me out. These kids in the United States that are at the mercy of the state, right? How fucking simple would it be for them to take these kids who need to be reparented and put them on these fucking labor farms and give them skilled trades to learn to help them in the real world? They could package it like it's really doing them a fucking favor. So instead of costing the government money, they're actually making the government money. This just made me mad. I'm just saying, all those fires in LA, come on, it cleared out all that property. Be a real perfect spot to build a wellness farm. And another thing, since when does our government believe in social programs? Did they or did they not just try to freeze all federal funding for Medicaid and Medicare services, including social programs, daycare vouchers, food stamps? Y'all hate social programs. Ronald Donald J. Trump McDonald. More people would be on board if they see the President of the United States try this out first. Let's start at the top. We know he loves his McDonald's. He clearly needs some reparenting. He's got a lot of daddy issues. Let's send Elon Musk with him. See how they integrate into society, see how much empathy they bring for the communities that they're in, and then we'll go from there. Here's the real problem. If the United States was truly interested in addressing the mental health crisis, they wouldn't take away our SSRIs. They would make life worth living. What they would not be pushing for is this mass mental health genocide. I'll just say this. If you take away my medicine, it's gonna be an issue. I'm about to become your biggest problem. And that's a promise. I promise you don't want to see a whole bunch of us out here with no impulse control, with that fucking untreated ADHD rage, pathological demand avoidance. Do you know what that is? You know that scene in The Office when Michael is dating Pam's mom and Pam says, "Stop dating my mother!" And Michael says,
"You know what? I'm gonna start dating her even harder."
That's all of us unmedicated. Don't tell me what to do and don't tell me what not to do because I'm gonna do it even harder. They will literally be begging me to leave by day 2. Now, if they can hold out to like day 3 or 4, that's when all of my executive functioning leaves my body and I will be bedbound, rotting in a hayloft somewhere like this, staring at that fucking horsefly on the ceiling until the cows come home. I've been trying to mentally map out how they will divide these wellness farms up. Like, are they going to do it by gender? Are they going to do it by diagnoses? Touch of the Tism farm? Or like dairy barn depression? Yeah, that one's going to fizzle out real fast because we're all looking for a reason to end it all. Okay, don't give us a reason because we'll take it. They already think that the gay and trans communities are mentally ill. We're going to need a gay farm. That's going to be the most fun. The anxiety farms are going to be a real drag. I've decided it'll either be like one collective panic attack or they're all sitting in a round circle doing butterfly taps on their chest trying not to spiral. The ADHD farm, come on. We're going to make our entire day revolve around about 25 different side quests. We're going to dilly-dally. We're going to gallivant. It's also going to be the loudest farm because we're going to be constantly talking talking over each other and cutting each other off, and also like cutting ourselves off. But like we're not mad at each other when we cut each other off because like we get it. We all have our special interests and things that we want to talk about in our hyperfixations. It's just gonna be different hyperfixations unless we can get, find other people who have the same hyperfixations. And that's another question I have. Now, Bobby did mention that there would be no technology access to people via smartphones or anything like that at these wellness camps. That's what he thinks. I hope y'all are brushed up on Amish talk. And I hope that you've been taking notes. Jebediah and Esther can throw it back better than any of us. The more I'm talking about these wellness farms, the more I'm kind of excited for it. Listen, I've literally been training for this my entire life. A big portion of my childhood, we lived in a barn, a tin roof barn. We slept in hay lofts, no electricity, no running water, milked dairy goats, butchered goats. We ate goats. I've eaten a goddamn raccoon, and it was barbecued, and that's not a joke either. Homeschooled, no access to the outside world. All of my fucking floor-length dresses were handmade. When I say I will be getting Bobby Kennedy's Concentration Camp Employee of the Month award, you better believe me. You know what's worse than heroin? Being addicted to staying chemically balanced. We're all addicted to SSRIs in the same way that people are addicted to blood pressure medication and are addicted to insulin. Sorry, I'm addicted to not feeling like shit. Sorry, I'm addicted to not swan diving off the Golden Gate Bridge. Sorry, I'm addicted to store-bought dopamine since my noggin doesn't want to produce it on a natural basis. There's a difference between addiction and medical dependence. I wish it was fucking addictive because then I would remember to take it. Adderall doesn't give me a high, it levels me out. The first time I took Adderall, it was illegally. I was probably in my mid-20s. I was at a company retreat, a once-a-year company retreat. True to my nature, I did not want to stay the night on the last night and go out drinking and partying with everybody because I love to be in bed. I love to lie down. I love to be in the comfort of my own home and my own space. And we were within, I think, like 34 hours from where I lived at the time. So I was just going to drive home while everyone else went out and partied. Someone in our group offered me an Adderall. And they were like, here, this will keep you awake on your drive home. I took it. I got so fucking sleepy because of the Adderall. I literally pulled over at a gas station and had to sleep it off in the parking lot. My natural is here. 752 mental tabs open at a time. It's like a fucking pinball machine in my brain. All of these mental tabs open at a time. When I'm medicated, I can finally stop operating at that level and bring it down to about here. 276 tabs open. It regulates me. It makes me able to fucking function. Unfortunately, it does not fix my ADHD. It makes it manageable. It makes life manageable. Me being medicated is just as much for the people around me as it is for me. What it doesn't do is make me high. People who do not have ADHD, who are not prescribed that medication for ADHD or for other neurological issues, those are the people that are addicted to Adderall because it keeps them awake. When you truly have ADHD, that ain't it. Another thing I find to be a little ironic about these wellness farms is that they're going to be funded by the money that comes in from selling cannabis.
Yeah, who's paying for?
Oh, like I said, I'm going to decriminalize marijuana on a federal basis, allow the states to regulate it, continue to tax it federally, and use those taxes to fund the recovery programs.
I'm sorry, the fucking cannabis that has been classified as a drug? How many people are locked up and have served time and have died in prisons from cannabis charges? Now suddenly you're going to decriminalize cannabis to fund a camp for people on mental health drugs, prescribed mental health drugs. Things don't have to make sense anymore. Equal opportunity and competence. The thing about the fundamentalist way of thinking across all of these subjects, if you follow my content for enough time, you know enough about the people that I've interviewed, cult survivors that I've interviewed, how I was raised super fucking conservative fundamentalist, right? One of the main themes throughout all of these things is abstinence. They love to push abstinence as an end-all be-all solution no matter the problem. It is not a one-size-fits-all solution for every single person, for every single problem. Historically, they pushed abstinence. For example, purity culture. Remember all of the money and the big movements that Reagan and George W. Bush, all of them pushed back in the day? They poured all that money into abstinence programs in schools and the purity culture and the purity rings and the purity balls. Gag a maggot. That didn't fucking work. We have all of the research now to prove that, in fact, people became more sexually active. They were just less safe with being sexually active, didn't use protection, had way more pregnancies. Purity culture had the opposite effect on staying pure. Inevitably, we're going to see the same thing with this. Telling people not to do shit has never worked. Have you ever had a teenager? I've been reading all of these fucking comments from people about the wellness farm, and one thing that people have been pushing back about is Big Pharma will never go for regulating these meds and taking people off their medication medications. Big Pharma has never been about the consumer though, right? They've always been about the bottom dollar. They profit from us taking care of our mental health and staying medicated. Let's be honest, they do. These things we've talked about today, there's parts of them are supposed to happen within the first 100 days of RFK's confirmation. So I put myself in the government's fungus-filled shoe. Hear me out. What if this is like his plan? And he is like, he believes in this plan. He's all about it. He fully thinks this is going to happen. But what if everyone's kind of in on it except him? What if he thinks this is for real, but everyone else has visibility to the bigger picture here? Maybe they don't have plans to take away medications from people at all. It's a similar situation to taking TikTok away from people. It reminds me of Jim Jones. Before Jonestown, before all of those people died in mass suicide, he would hold what he called white nights, which were basically like drills preparing people. He would tell people that the compound was surrounded, that this was it. They would all line up, drink the fucking Kool-Aid, and then no one would die. But it was a test to see how far people were willing to go, if they would revolt against him, if they were loyal, kind of gauge the perception of the masses. What if that's kind of what they're doing here? So they took TikTok away for 24 hours to see what we would do, testing out society to see what our reaction is going to be, how we're going to push back, what our answer is going to be to some of these executive orders, things like that. They might not have plans of getting entirely rid of the medication, but they clearly don't mind causing a mass panic among the people, do they? Especially in a subset group of people who are quote unquote mentally unwell, people like myself. We know what life is like unmedicated. So what are we going to do? We know what it's like. We know how hard it is to do our jobs, to function, to emotionally regulate, to just be productive members of society. We're willing to pay out of pocket and pay higher prices to ensure that we have this medication so our lives don't fall to shit while the fucking world is falling to shit. What we're going to do is what I've seen a lot of people say that they're doing or have done, and that's get their doctors to prescribe their medications 90 days at a time. Well, then Big Pharma profits from that, don't they? They're able to cause a higher demand for these products. They're able to say that there's a shortage. They're able to charge higher prices. You know what people have been doing lately? Boycotting these big corporations, boycotting insurance companies, boycotting billionaires, deleting all meta-based apps, organizing consumer strikes, including the one coming up on February 28th, making all of these corporations and companies' profits absolutely fucking tank. So if they take away the thing that helps us function, or even threaten to take away the thing, they're also threatening our ability to protest, to push back, to fight back, to leave the country, to organize, to build community, to communicate. What have I been preaching to you guys for the past months? Money and fear are the well-oiled cogs on the machine of capitalism. So a surefire way to generate more money for these corporations is to target people's medical conditions. Oldest trick in the book. Luigi, let me bring this in. I had to really decrease the amount of information that I put in this video about RFK because I just went off the rails. If you want to support the channel, you can join me on Patreon for more of fucking crazy ass stories, dumping the baby bear in Central Park, whale on top of the car story. But the best way to support the channel is to stick around for other deep dives like this. Now go rebel against something.